What's going on, Vegas Nation? Cassie, Soto, and Vinny Bonsignore here reporting from Raiders Minicamp. A very windy start to Raiders mandatory minicamp, Vinny, but we are out here, and so are the 91 players on the roster, 91-ish players on the roster right now for the Raiders. Everyone who is under contract is here at the Henderson headquarters, but that, of course, leaves one, Josh Jacobs, not on the field. We spoke to Raiders head coach Josh McDaniels about that this morning, on Tuesday morning, and he said JJ isn't under contract, but there's still quite a bit of time to go ahead and hash those things out before he does step on the field. Vinny, can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, mid-July is when, because he's franchise tagged, right? He hasn't signed his franchise tag, so technically he's not under contract, which also means he's not subject to any fines or anything like that. When you hear mandatory, that means you could get fined if you're under contract and not showing up. That's not the situation for Josh Jacobs because he's not under contract. So basically what happens from this point forward is they have until July 15th, 17th to come together on a long-term contract. Or if that doesn't happen, if that deadline passes, then the only other option for Josh Jacobs is to sign the tender and play under the terms of the franchise tag, $10.1 million or so for this season, or hold out. I don't expect that to happen. But, you know, at this point, this is really the only leverage that he has to let the Raiders know, like, hey, I really want a long-term deal. I don't want to necessarily play on the franchise tag. So he's pushing the buttons that he has available to him. Josh McDaniels is fully aware of that and respects that process. So there's no hard feelings or anything like that. It's just business right now. So for those reasons, though, he's not here.
Right. Well, someone else not on the field on Tuesday and probably likely this week is Jimmy Garoppolo. And, you know, rewinding a few weeks back, Josh McDaniels also said that he doesn't have any anxiety when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not worried. Maybe fans, maybe media are worried. But not having QB1 on the field right now, Vinny, in these, you know, crucial times where he can be able to learn his teammates to learn him and, you know, develop that relationship on the field, you have to be a little bit nervous, regardless if you want to discuss it or not.
A little bit, but if you've seen the video of Jimmy G out at the Golden Knights game, having fun, walking completely unimpeded. There's no walking boot or anything like that. He's been a man about town a little bit during the Golden Knights run. So if you're worried about that end of it, it looks like that's going to be okay, but you never know. So you have to just wait and see until he passes that physical, whenever that comes, for him to get back on the field. But it seems like just watching him, looks like he's going to be okay. But the fact
he has 2 feet. Can you confirm he has 2 feet?
2 feet, and he was walking around, like I said, without any. There's no crutches. There's no wheelchair. There was no walking boot. He's not on a scooter or anything like that. He was having a pretty good time, actually. So there's that. And but the bottom line is, walking around and playing football are two different things, and that physical is going to require that the Raiders are convinced that he's going to be able to play football. I don't think it's necessarily a big issue, and I don't think that him missing time here is the biggest issue. As long as he's able to get out there at some point during training camp, whether it's in the beginning or soon after, I think there's plenty of time for them to get things together offensively.
Well, let's talk about who you did see on the field today, Vinny. Is there anyone that stood out to you? Obviously, again, first day of minicamp here, so no pads, no real hitting, no real anything. But just from your initial thoughts and what you saw here today.
A couple players, Jacorian Bennett got a lot of run with the quote-unquote starters, I guess you could say. There's no real depth chart right now, but you know who who the starters are on this team, and for the fact that he's been out there quite a bit with your Nate Hobbses and Divine Diablos and Max Crosby's, guys that you consider starters on this team, probably a pretty good sign for Jacorian. Britton Brown looks in tremendous shape. The rookie from UCLA last year looks like he spent his time wisely redoing his body. He was kind of flying around there when they pitched the ball to him or handed the ball to him. So I liked what I saw from Britton Brown. I like what I see from the offensive line. There's a lot of numbers there. There's a lot of familiar faces there. And it feels like they're starting well ahead of where they were at this point last year. So we'll see if that's something that proves to be a good thing for them going into the season.
All right. Well, Vinny and I will be here all week. Again, mandatory minicamp until Thursday, June 8th. So be sure to stick with us at vegasnation.com for all of your Raiders news. For Vinny Bonsignore, I'm Cassie Soto. We'll see you soon.